Earlier today, a Scottish High Court ruled that Boris Johnson suspending Parliament is apparently unlawful. Now, since then, Remainers have been going around celebrating. They're very happy with their champagne and avocados and their cheese. But what's the truth behind this? Before we explain what happened exactly and what this ruling could lead to over the next week or so, we have to say that obviously the reputation of Parliament is currently very low, and the Scottish court decision merely reinforces the narrative that the establishment doesn't really care about people. Because we already have more evidence that people are now sick and tired of this situation and they just want to leave the European Union. A recent survey by Comres shows that more than half of British adults believe that the result of the 2016 referendum must be respected and Brexit should be delivered. 54% agree that the referendum results should be obviously delivered, and 25% disagree, with 21% saying they don't know. Of those that voted Remain in 2016, more than a third, basically 35%, said that they now want Brexit delivered. So good luck having a second referendum. See how that goes for you guys. But going back to the Scottish court ruling, firstly, this was after last week when the English judges ruled that prorogation was actually lawful. And there is a reason that the Scottish judges said otherwise. It's simple because Scottish law is slightly different to English and Welsh law. Something which could be unconstitutional and unlawful in Scotland could actually be constitutional and lawful in London. A UK government spokesperson has responded that we are disappointed by today's decision and will appeal to the UK Supreme Court. The UK government needs to bring forward a strong domestic legislative agenda. Proroguing Parliament is the legal and necessary way of delivering this. All this shows is that until yesterday it was people versus Parliament, and today it's people versus Parliament and judges. Now obviously this is not a generalisation of all judges and all courts. This is a very, very specific case in the Scottish court. Firstly, let's see what exactly happened. They have ruled that Boris Johnson suspending Parliament is not lawful. But they actually said that Boris Johnson's advice to the Queen apparently is not lawful. And so it's not actually about suspending itself, because Her Majesty can suspend Parliament without advice. Now, Remainers are going around saying that we won and we can now unsuspend Parliament. No, they can't.
The highest court in Scotland has ruled that it is unlawful unanimously, and in this wonderful equal union which we're told so much about, which is the United Kingdom, then the Scottish court has jurisdiction over the Westminster Parliament. We are Scottish MPs and we're represented there.
We ought to be in Westminster this morning representing our constituents, and we're not, because Boris Johnson has chosen to shut Parliament down. That has now been ruled to be against the law, and Parliament should be immediately reconvened so that we can consider what Boris Johnson is doing to this country.
So what is your next move now?
Well, we'll have to see what happens in the Supreme Court next week, but our next move is to demand the recall of Parliament. We need to get back representing the people who elected us, the people who put us there at this time of political crisis.
So they're saying that if it weren't for prorogation, they would have been in Parliament debating policy. No. Firstly, this was always going to be a conference season. Parliament never sits during conference season. So all Boris Johnson's government has done is to add a few days on top of that. So it's not really the longest prorogation in that sense. And the ruling has also confirmed that it's not going to be forcing Parliament to be unsuspended. That's until next Tuesday, when the Supreme Court in London has to decide. And I can assure you, the UK Supreme Court in London will rule against Scotland. Here are a few facts for Remainers. Number 1, this ruling is not legally binding in that sense. Number 2, this was a civil court. Number 3, the Scottish court has declined to reverse prorogation. Number 4, the Supreme Court will overturn it next week. And number 5, the conference season won't be cancelled anyway. And the reason for that is because courts are not going to rule against Her Majesty deciding to suspend Parliament. It's her decision, and if they make a move against that, they're basically implying that Her Majesty act is unlawful. And what are you going to put on trial? On court ruling prorogation being unlawful, Julian Moorham has told Sky News that he believes Parliament is now not suspended, owing in part to this ruling and also because the government failed to make an application in court to resuspend today. Well, that's just ridiculous because that's not what they said. This is why government sources said that Parliament is still prorogued. This ruling doesn't change that because no order has been given and won't be ahead of Tuesday when the Supreme Court hears the appeal. So, in the words of John Bercow,
I require no response from you. I require no response from you.
Now, the funny thing is, obviously, as Remainers are kind of celebrating today for some reason, what they're actually doing is that, so this hearing is now going to be delayed until next Tuesday. That's another week being wasted for them. And every time things like this happen, they completely lose focus on what they're supposed to be doing, which is to stop Brexit. And so that's another week wasted because they're hoping that the Supreme Court will rule against Boris Johnson's government. Yeah, they won't. And so that's another week gone without them trying to use other avenues to stop Brexit. Now, all these efforts and methods that they're using won't actually work. The only way that Remainers can stop no deal Brexit is actually a very radical move, and that's by taking over a parliament when they come back and vote somehow to revoke Article 50. But that goes against their actual official line because the Remainers in Parliament are also divided. You have the Liberal Democrats who want to have a referendum to stop Brexit. You have the Labour Party who want to have a referendum with a deal for some reason. And then you have some people who just want to revoke Article 50 so it will be very difficult for them to unite to vote to revoke Article 50. So let's see how that goes. But generally speaking, that's the only way they can actually stop Brexit. And also, I understand that every time I post one of these videos every day at 6 p.m, things change immediately. So by the time you watch this, things might be different. So, but if you want to follow up, obviously subscribe to the channel and click on the notification button next to it. I'll be releasing updates every day at 6 p.m. If you want to get in touch with me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, you can find them down here. And you can support the channel by joining the Cabinet Club. I'll put the link in the description as always. And I will see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. with a new video.